Ah, why yes, you're in the theater, back where the magic happens. What's going on with you guys? The TheCaliEffect, king of games here, and today we are going to be going over Despia's, Shaddoll's, Invoked, and everything in between. That's right, you curtain pullers. In this video, not only will I be showing you how Despia can take center stage, I'll also be giving you some alternative options because, to be honest with you, Despia isn't quite solved yet. This strategy not only has support coming out in the next set, it also has versatility to play with so many other strategies. So while I can't encompass every single strategy that it would play with, I think I can give you guys a build that plays to the deck's strengths, and when the curtain closes, will probably be the best variant in the future. I'm the TheCaliEffect, and of course, if you wanna see more spice like that, then be sure to destroy that subscribe button, but also be sure not to miss on that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I also want to point out that if Despia or Dogmatic is your thing, then maybe this mat may be the mat for you. It is absolutely gorgeous. They are currently on pre-order for Infinity Games TCG, but of course, if you want to see some more matte sauce, I got you covered, as I'm going to be showing you not only some amazing combos for this Shaddoll Despia Dogmatic Invoked deck, I'll be showing you how the deck operates. So a lot of the combos in this particular concept require a plethora of cards. After the branded opening plus the Shaddoll Hedgehog or Red Shaddoll Wendy, it does require more cards in your hand, but it can literally be any cards in your hand. In this particular combo, branded opening plus Alistair could make a very nice board, depending on if you add additional monsters, but I'm just going to go ahead and add Despian Tragedy just to show you how important this card could be for the strategy, while also showing you a very pleasant end board for the deck to make. The first thing we're going to do is start off with our normal Alistair shenanigans. You're going to go Alistair into Invocation, then you're going to link off Alistair into Artemis, and then of course you're going to activate Invocation, fusing both your Artemis and your Alistair into Invoked Mechaba. From there, of course, you use your Invocations effect to place the Alistair back into your hand. And if I didn't have just a random card, I'd have to branded opening the Alistair and then fuse with the other card in my hand and the Aliber. But since I have Despian Tragedy, I'm going to go ahead and use branded opening, discarding the Tragedy to special summon the Aliber, which is also going to trigger the Aliber and Tragedy's effects. With Tragedy, I'll get Dramaturgia, and with Aluber, I will get Despia Theater of the Branded. I'll then from there activate Despia Theater of the Branded using its effect to fuse Aluber and Dramaturgia. We can fuse both of these monsters into a Quiritus and then trigger the effect of Dramaturgia to special summon itself. So basically with those three cards, we got up to three really powerful effect monsters, but it actually gets extremely more tricky for the opponent from here. Not only do I have a free negation with Invoked Mechaba, I can actually protect my Mechaba without having to commit my Alistair the Invoker, because Quiritus can make all monsters attack 0 if they are under level 8 or higher fusion monsters. Now this does come at the cost of potentially using my Dramaturgia, but to be honest with you guys, more often than not, this card is just going to stop whatever my opponent's first important special summon that is an extra deck monster to the side of the field. Another amazing thing about this is that if your opponent decides to pick apart your board with cards like Lightning Storm, you can trigger quite a few effects. The Despia Theater of the Branded, since a non-fairy fusion monster was destroyed, you can special summon Invoked Mechaba back to your side of the field. And then Despia and Quiritus can go ahead and special summon Aluber to your side of the field, which can get another search. So even then, you're still sitting on a board that is extremely hard for your opponent to get over and still gives you advantage in the process. Now in this particular combo, I'm going to show you why I do prefer to have the Shaddoll, Invoked, and of course Despia archetypes all meshed into one, and where this deck has its most potential. This is a 3-card combo that's going to require Alistair the Invoker, extremely easy to get, branded opening, which is fairly easy to get, and either Shaddoll Hedgehog, Shaddoll Squamata, or Red Shaddoll Wendy, which is fairly easy to get. The first thing that you always want to do is start off with your Invoker plays. So of course, normal summoning Alistair Invoker to add your Invocation, and then linking off your Alistair the Invoker into your only link monster that you will be summoning for this turn, and then Invocation banishing the Alistair and sending the Artemis
to be able to special summon the Mechaba, and then of course your invocation to add Alistair to your hand. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and activate Branded Opening. I am locked into only being able to fusion summon for the rest of the turn. I'm going to send Shaddoll Hedgehog from my deck to the graveyard to special summon Alibur. I'm going to trigger both the effects of Alibur and Shaddoll Hedgehog. The effect of Shaddoll Hedgehog will add me a Squamata, and the effect of Alibur will add me a Despia Theater. From here, I'll activate Despia Theater, fusing both Alibur and Shaddoll Squamata into a Despia Queritus, triggering the effect of Squamata to send Windy, and then Windy's effect to set a Shaddoll Beast. So with those three particular cards, it might not look, or it might look like a huge investment, but we have so much advantage. It is completely bonkers. Despia Queritus can pretty much protect the Mechaba, but even more importantly, Despia Theater of the Branded does punish our opponents for actually getting rid of our board. We also even have the Shaddoll Beast to allow us to draw 2 cards and discard 1 card, triggering the effect of our Despian monsters like Despian Tragedy or our Shaddoll cards. This deck is actually pretty good at the grand game. As you guys can see, it gets a little bit of advantage from just existing, but it can struggle with the most inopportune hands. Sometimes you get the hands that you don't want to see. I personally think that this deck is extremely fun to play and is another twist for Shaddoll players to finally get their hands on and possibly even make it better than what I'm doing. So in the live duel involving this particular deck that I just posted up, you can go ahead and check it out if you guys want to see an awesome live duel. A lot of you guys may ask, what exactly was I supposed to do with Diviner of Herald? Now, Diviner of Herald is an awesome card that can be played in a plethora of decks, and I actually wound up taking it out of this particular strategy, but I'm going to show you guys the combo that you could possibly incorporate back into your deck. This is going to require Diviner of Herald and either Branded Opening with a discard outlet or just your Theater, which can fuse for you. It's a pretty cool combo, but it does require you to play a brick. I'm going to normal summon Diviner of Herald using its effect to pitch Trias Hierarchia from my deck to the graveyard, and then I'm going to use Trias Hierarchia, tributing the Diviner of Herald to summon itself to the side of the field. Of course, the effect of Diviner of Herald will trigger. That will allow you to special summon a Despian Tragedy to your side of the field, and then you can activate your Despia Theater of the Branded, fusing the Despia Tragedy and of course your Trias Hierarchia to be able to special summon your Queritus. Now you can trigger the effect of Despia Tragedy, you can add your Dramaturgia from your deck to your hand, or you can go ahead and add your Alibur from your deck to your hand if you so please. That's pretty much the biggest reason why I ran that combo, is so I can fluidly have a light monster in my deck that can be fused for Shaddolls to make Construct fairly easy, as well as a free way to get into Queritus. But I figured that this combo wasn't as important inside of a Shaddoll Despia Dogmatica, or I'm sorry, a Shaddoll Despia Invoked mixed deck. But now, since I mentioned Dogmatica, I'm going to be able to show you why I dropped Dogmatica. So the big reason why I decided not to play Dogmatica in this particular deck, I wound up dropping it after the live duel, is because these cards do not help you advance your game state. Now, it's extremely cool to follow up your play with a Nadir Servant and then technically be able to search a Shaddoll Schism, which is awesome. But the reason why these cards aren't meant for this particular deck is because this deck actually needs to fuse on a constant basis. At one point in time, I was actually just playing the standard package, which is 3 Nadir Servant, 1 Ecclesia, and 1 Fleur de Lis. And then that's when I started to realize that this was just better as disruption cards. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Effect Veiler, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme just do better jobs at being able to stop my opponent from doing things, get cards into the graveyard, which this serves no point whatsoever, even if your combo does get disrupted. And another thing is that if your combo does get disrupted, you're going to have to struggle to make a Link monster to be able to special summon Ecclesia. So for the deck profile, starting off with the Despia monsters, we run 2 copies of Alibur Jester of Despia, 1 copy of Dramaturgia, 1 copy of Despia Tragedy, 3 copies of Branded Opening, and 1 Theater. The most important card for this Despia engine is Branded Opening because, like I said before, it allows you to special summon a free Despia monster to your side of the field, being a quick play spell card, meaning you can spring Dramaturgia from your deck on your opponent's turn, trigger the effect of your Shaddoll cards or possibly your Despian Tragedy, and still gain advantage. I felt that you didn't need more than 1 Despia Theater, strictly because not only can Tragedy set Theater back to your side of the field after you've probably gotten rid of it for a magical meltdown, after resolving 2 meltdowns and 2 Despia Theater of the Branded, more often than not, I don't think you'll need anything past that. Moving forward, we do play an awkward Shaddoll lineup. I play 2 copies of Shaddoll Hedgehog, 2 copies of Shaddoll Squamata, 1 copy of Neff Shaddoll Genius, 1 Rest Shaddoll Windy, and 1 Shaddoll Beast. Now again, this is a very awkward combination because as you can see, both Hedgehog and Shaddoll Squamata have been amped up. The reason why it's been done this way is because Rest Shaddoll Windy cannot fuse with my monsters to make Despia and Queritus, as it is neither a light or dark monster. But I do need both Neff Shaddoll and Rest Shaddoll Windy for going second and make Shaddoll Fusion a free negate 1 and or negate 2 and special summon. Shout out to my man George for pointing that out. Going forward, one more monster that I really wanted to play was the Quad Shaddoll Chaos, because it does bring so much more versatility into your deck and gives you a searchable light monster. This would have made the deck 41, and you guys know how I feel about 41 and 42 cards. It doesn't mean anything, but I decided to give you guys the preference if you wanted to play it or not. Moving forward, of course, 3 Shaddoll Fusions and 1 copy of Shaddoll Schism. And the more and more I look at this deck, the most expensive cards just so happen to be, I think, Alibur and Shaddoll Schism. Everything else is fairly budget for the exception of 1 card, but we have budget options for that. I do think that this deck is fairly budget because instead of spending $210 on the 3 Nadir Servant, I'm confident I can say on a budget this entire deck can be $210, as the most expensive cards is Alibur, which is 40 each, and then Schism, which I think is 30. Then from there, I don't think anything else in this deck eclipses over $10, except for, oh wait, the invocations, my apologies. You're probably gonna spend $210 on this entire deck. Next, I play 3 copies of Alistair, 2 copies of Invocation, 3 copies of Magical Meltdown. That is extremely standard for any Invoke deck. No Terraforming, though I did think it was a really good card. That actually could be your 41st and 42nd card if you decide to play those 2, as Terraforming can search Meltdown and Brandon. From here, we do play quite the bit of hand traps, which is 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, 2 copies of Ash Blossom. These can literally be whatever you want. If you were on a budget, you can play 3 Effect Veiler, because I already played 2 Effect Veiler in Skullmeisters. Literally just play cards to help disrupt your opponent through your particular meta. And then, of course, 3 copies of Cypher Gamma in the Driver. I love this because if your opponent is almost forced to Ash Blossom cards like your Shaddoll Fusion, you can respond with Cypher Gear Driver, and this deck can make Lambda fairly easy. Now, that is it for the hand traps. For these last blowout cards is 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. You guys can take out Triple Tactics Talent for Forbidden Chalice, and while those 2 cards don't do anything next to each other, Forbidden Chalice is like a god card right now, as it can negate some really important cards in the meta. And then, of course, 1 copy of Call by the Grave to stop your opponent's hand traps. Moving forward for the extra deck, it's fairly fun and interesting. This is actually a 14 card extra deck, guys. So that 15 card can be whatever you want, but I know you guys are going to post down in the comment section, there's no 15 cards here. For the people that didn't read, just laugh at them. 2 copies of Invoked Mechaba. I don't think you'll actually ever... Actually, no, you'll go to 2. There are times where you go to 2 and it's very easy to make. 2 copies of Queritus. This card could be dropped down to 1, but I decided to play 2 just to be safe. Only 1 Shaddoll Construct, only 1 App Cologne. The only way to make this card is to fuse your Neff or your Windy or your Quad if you play it, but it's a card that you're typically not going to make. 2 copies of Winda, fairly easy to make into this deck. 1 copy of Agiotis. This card is fairly good, but you don't have to play it. And then for the links, 1 Gravity Controller, 1 Lambda, 1 Predaplant Vert. This card is not mandatory inside of the deck. You don't need to play it. And 2 copies of Artemis. So for the 15 cards, there are quite a few cards like an extra construct. You can even run the first Dark Lord if you still wanted to. I didn't play enough fairies. That's why I decided to cut it. Solomon Great All Mirage is a card that I decided to drop, mainly because I didn't see myself going to Purgatrio. But you could play All Mirage and Purgatrio while dropping a card from your extra deck if you wanted to. Well, that's pretty much all that I have for the Shaddoll Invoked Despia profile and the cards that you could be playing. Again, if you guys want to cop some awesome stuff from Infinity Gaming, then I'll leave the link down below in the description as well as in the comment section. Of course, if you want to see more TheCaliEffect content, maybe Despia's in action, go ahead and check out these videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.